Okay, so let's dive into this news about
Fantastic.
yeah, about President-elect Trump nominating Jared Isaacman to lead NASA.
Wow.
Yeah, so like yeah, NASA.
Yeah.
Like they put humans on the moon, and now they might be led by, well, a billionaire. This billionaire tech entrepreneur who just happens to love space.
Yeah.
And was actually part of the first private spacewalk ever.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty crazy to think about. So we've got these two articles here.
Mm.
One's from the Associated Press and the other one's from NPR. They've got some pretty interesting insights into this unexpected pick. And you'd know what it could mean for the future of space exploration.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating situation for sure.
So buckle up, I guess. We're going to explore Isaacman's background,
Yeah.
his really close ties to Elon Musk and SpaceX, and try to unpack why some people are a little concerned about potential conflicts of interest.
Yeah. I think what's so interesting here is usually when we think about NASA administrators, we think of astronauts or scientists, people who, have been working in the space program for like their entire careers. But Isaacman, well, his background is completely different.
Totally.
Wow.
So who is Jared Isaacman? Well, he's 41 years old, a tech billionaire, CEO and founder of this company called Shift4.
Oh, yeah.
They do credit card processing. But he's not just some, boring businessman. Back in 2009, he actually set a speed record flying around the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was for charity. So clearly the guy has an adventurous spirit.
And that adventurous spirit, it clearly led him to space. He's already purchased and completed 2 flights with SpaceX.
Oh, yeah, including that incredible Polaris Dawn mission.
Yeah.
Back in September 2024, where he was part of the first ever private spacewalk. I mean, can you imagine that feeling?
Yeah, it's got to be unbelievable.
Stepping out of a spacecraft, just floating in the vastness of space.
It's amazing. I think that spacewalk was a major milestone. It kind of signaled this shift towards more private citizens participating in space exploration, which, used to be exclusively for government agencies. So, yeah, it's exciting. But it also makes you wonder about the experience level needed to lead an organization as complex as NASA.
That's a great point, especially considering he's potentially replacing Bill Nelson.
Yeah.
Who's an 82-year-old former senator and an actual astronaut. I mean, Nelson flew on the space shuttles.
Wow.
But a huge generational and experiential shift.
Yeah, it's definitely a potential change in direction for NASA, possibly leaning more towards those commercial space ventures, which, aligns with the influence of companies like SpaceX.
And that brings us to the heart of the matter here.
Yeah.
Isaac Melson has a relationship with SpaceX. It's way more than just being a paying customer.
Right.
He's actually booked 2 more flights with them. And get this, one of them is on Starship.
Wow, Starship.
That's
a whole other level. That's their next generation spacecraft, right? Designed for deep space missions. It's the vehicle they're hoping to use to eventually get to Mars. So imagine this. The head of NASA is also planning to ride on a SpaceX vehicle to deep space. It just raises so many questions.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder about NASA's future Mars ambitions. Will they become heavily reliant on SpaceX for deep space travel?
Yeah.
What does that mean for their own independent capabilities?
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. And the ties don't stop there either. His company, Shift4, invested $27.5 million in SpaceX. And they've got this 5-year partnership where Shift4 actually handles payments for Starlink. SpaceX's satellite internet service.
Oh, yeah. Even Elon Musk chimed in on X. He was praising Isaacman's abilities and integrity.
It definitely seems like they have a pretty close relationship, which, leads us to the elephant in the room, the potential for conflicts of interest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As NASA administrator, Isaacman would be overseeing billions of dollars in contracts.
Many of
which
them
could,
out.
well, SpaceX.
Yeah, and that's a huge point. It's not just about, personal preference anymore. His decisions could directly impact the financial success of a company that he's deeply invested in, both financially and personally.
Yeah, one space industry analyst, Tim Farrar, he didn't really hold back. He said that Isaacman would likely favor SpaceX. And it's not just speculation either. We found some of Isaacman's old X posts from back when it was still Twitter. He was openly supporting increased SpaceX launches and criticizing things like NASA's own Space Launch System,
Yeah.
the SLS. And he's even kind of throwing shade at Blue Origin's lunar landing contract.
Oh, wow. Those past statements definitely give us some insight into his views. Now, granted, his perspective could evolve, but it's important to acknowledge how his existing beliefs and his business interests might influence his decision-making in this role.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fascinating to think about, with all this talk about SpaceX, what could this mean for NASA's future? Are we on the verge of a major shift away from that, traditional government-led approach to space exploration?
Well, he believes that under Isaacman's leadership, NASA might start prioritizing these ambitious commercial space projects, with SpaceX likely, taking the lead. And this raises a big question. Could we see NASA, taking a backseat to private companies in this quest to explore the cosmos?
That'd be a huge change.
Yeah, it wouldn't necessarily be about taking a backseat, but maybe more about shifting the, partnership dynamics. You see, NASA's always relied on contractors to build and operate spacecraft. But what we're seeing now is a potential move toward more ambitious collaborations with these commercial partners, especially for, human spaceflight missions.
But will Congress be on board with this? I mean, will they really allow NASA to abandon these long-standing projects like the SLS, which, let's be honest, has faced delays and budget issues, to free up funds for SpaceX initiatives?
That's a great question. It's the billion-dollar question. Because, Congress has a lot of influence over NASA's budget and priorities. And it's unclear whether they'll really fully embrace this shift toward a more commercially driven space program.
And speaking of NASA's priorities, let's not forget about all the amazing projects they already have going on. Whoever leads the agency is going to inherit a lot of responsibility for these ongoing missions and the challenges that come with them.
Oh, absolutely. It's really important to remember that NASA is currently involved in a huge range of activities, from human spaceflight to robotic exploration of our solar system and beyond. And these missions represent substantial investments and, significant scientific goals that need to be addressed, regardless of who's at the helm.
Like, for example, there's the Artemis program, which aims to return astronauts to the moon, potentially as early as next year. But it's not just about planting a flag this time, right?
Oh, no, not at all. The Artemis program is way more ambitious than that. The goal is to establish a sustainable human presence on the moon, which could potentially lay the groundwork for future missions to Mars. It involves international partners and presents a really complex set of technological challenges.
And of course, SpaceX is playing a key role in Artemis, providing the Starship for lunar landings.
Yeah, and that really highlights the evolving landscape of space exploration. It shows how private companies are becoming capable of contributing to large-scale, complex missions that were traditionally handled exclusively by government agencies.
It's pretty incredible. But it's not all about the moon either. NASA has missions happening all over the solar system. They've got a spacecraft en route to Jupiter's moon Europa, which scientists believe might have a subsurface ocean that could potentially harbor life. And on Mars, the Perseverance rover is diligently collecting samples for a future return to Earth.
Wow, it's amazing to think about. All these robotic missions are pushing the boundaries of scientific exploration, helping us unravel the mysteries of the universe. But, they also come with logistical and technological hurdles.
Like figuring out how to get those Martian samples back to Earth. The current plan is estimated to cost around $11 billion, and we wouldn't see those samples back on Earth until 2040.
Yeah, the Mars sample return mission really highlights the budgetary constraints that NASA often faces. It's a constant balancing act between pursuing ambitious scientific goals and working within the realities of funding. So finding creative solutions and forging partnerships with international space agencies and private companies is going to be absolutely crucial.
So it seems like we're potentially looking at a future where NASA, under the leadership of a billionaire with close ties to SpaceX, might prioritize these commercially driven space endeavors.
Yeah, and that raises a crucial question for all of us. How does this potential shift align with our own hopes for space exploration? Do we want to see rapid innovation driven by private companies? Or should we stick with the traditional government-led approach, focused on scientific discovery? These are complex questions with no easy answers.
Definitely food for thought. This whole situation has me feeling both excited and a little apprehensive.
Yeah.
It feels like we're witnessing a modern-day space race, but this time it's not between nations. It's like between public and private interests, each with their own goals and motivations.
It's true. We all grew up with NASA as the symbol of American ingenuity and exploration, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But now we're entering this new era where billionaires with their own space companies are playing a much more significant role.
It's exciting to see the possibilities expanding, but I can't help but feel a little uncertain, too, about what this means for the future of space exploration as we know it.
It's a pivotal moment, for sure. And it reminds us that space isn't just the domain of governments and scientists anymore. It's becoming more accessible to private citizens, entrepreneurs, and even tourists. So it opens up a whole new world of possibilities. But it also presents new challenges.
Well, this deep dive has certainly given us a lot to think about. What are your thoughts on Isaac Isaacman's nomination and what it could mean for NASA? We'd love for you to continue this conversation. and explore these ideas further.
And remember, this is a developing story, so there's definitely going to be more news and analysis to come. We encourage you to stay informed, engage in discussions, and form your own conclusions.
So keep looking up at the stars. And who knows, maybe one day we'll all have the chance to experience the wonder of space travel firsthand.